Get your hands where I can see them. Do it now!
I'm showing you my hands, officer.
Reach for a damn thing! Open the door!
I cannot open the door and keep my hands up. Get on the ground, face down, now! Officer, I am moving. I'm just tired. I'm not fighting. Watch my arm, I'm a surgeon.
The camera spins wildly as Braden forces Bishop into the pavement. There's the distinct sound of plastic impacting concrete. Bishop's ID badge hitting the floor. The footage stabilizes only when Braden places his knee into the center of Bishop's back, pinning him under the full weight of his tactical gear. Dr. Julian Bishop, 42 years old, is the attending trauma surgeon at St. Jude's Medical Center. On the night of the incident, he had just completed a 24-hour shift, followed by an emergency 4-hour surgery. His annual income exceeds $450,000, and he is a property owner in the affluent Northwood district. Bishop has no criminal record, not even a traffic citation in the last decade. He had entered his vehicle at 3:15 a.m., intending to drive home, but decided to rest his eyes for 20 minutes before hitting the highway, a safety precaution recommended by the hospital administration to prevent drowsy driving accidents. Officer Kyle Braden, 29, has been with the Metro Police Department for 6 years. His personnel file reveals a pattern of aggressive enforcement in low-income sectors, though he was recently transferred to the North Precinct, a low-crime area surrounding the medical district. His base salary is $62,000. Prior to this night, Braden had accumulated 4 citizen complaints for discourtesy and 1 formal reprimand for unholstering his weapon during a routine traffic stop without sufficient cause. This brings us to a critical question regarding police procedure and citizen rights. Officer Braden initiated a felony stop procedure on a sleeping man in a legally parked car. Does sleeping in a vehicle in a private lot constitute reasonable suspicion of a crime that justifies immediately drawing a firearm? Or is this an example of implicit bias overriding standard procedure? Leave your verdict and reasoning in the comments below. The setting of the encounter plays a significant role in the psychological framing of both men. The St. Jude's Medical Center parking structure is a towering brutalist construct of gray concrete and fluorescent buzzing. It is designed for efficiency, not comfort, but for the staff who work there, it is considered a green zone, a safe perimeter patrolled by private hospital security and local police. The neighborhood surrounding the hospital has undergone rapid gentrification over the last 5 years. Luxury condos now sit beside older, dilapidated row houses, creating a friction point where high-net-worth individuals and transient populations often cross paths. At 3:00 a.m., the garage is acoustically resonant. Every door slam sounds like a gunshot, and the air is cold and smells of damp oil. It is a sensory environment that heightens alertness. For Dr. Bishop, this garage is the gateway between the high-stakes pressure of the operating room and the sanctuary of his home. It is part of his workplace. He feels a sense of ownership and belonging here. His presence in the vehicle is consistent with his role as a healer, recovering from exertion. For Officer Braden, the garage represents a tactical nightmare blind, corners, shadows, and limited egress. His patrol notes from the previous month indicate a focus on vehicle break-ins in the area. When he spots a figure slumped in the driver's seat of a high-value vehicle, his cognitive bias filters the visual data through a specific lens. He does not see a tired doctor. He sees a perpetrator. He sees a potential overdose or a car thief attempting to hotwire a luxury sedan. This dissonance, Bishop feeling he is in a safe haven, and Braden feeling he is entering a crime scene, creates the friction that sparks the initial aggression. There is also a documented history of friction in this specific precinct. 2 years prior, a black off-duty firefighter was detained at gunpoint in the same district while unlocking his own front door. That incident resulted in mandatory retraining for the department, a course Officer Braden completed just 6 months before this encounter. The psychological inertia of the department, however, often resists the theoretical lessons of a classroom when the adrenaline of the street takes over. The escalation is rapid, driven entirely by Officer Braden's refusal to reassess his initial hypothesis. At 03:18:42, the Bodycam footage shows Braden approaching the vehicle. He does not knock. He shines his light directly into the driver's face for 14 seconds. "Driver, hey, wake up!" Braden shouts through the glass. The audio picks up the muffled sound of Bishop stirring. What? Who is it? Bishop's voice is barely audible, thick with sleep. He reaches toward the dashboard, likely to check the time or shield his eyes from the light. At 03:19:05, Braden yells, "He's reaching!" to no one. He is the only officer on the scene. This vocalization is a common tactic used to establish a legal justification for force on the recording, regardless of the suspect's actual intent. "Let me see your hands. Open the door." Okay, just hold on. Bishop fumbles for the door handle. The camera clearly shows his left hand moving to the latch, while his right hand comes up to rub his eyes. There is no weapon visible. The center console is closed. "I said show me your hands! Get out of the car!" Braden unholsters his weapon at 03:19:12. This is the pivotal moment. Legally, the drawing of a firearm constitutes a use of force. For this to be justified, the officer must have an objective reason to believe the subject poses an immediate threat of death or serious bodily injury. Bishop is seated, seat-belted, and wearing medical scrubs. "Officer, I work here. I'm a doctor. I was just resting." Bishop's tone begins to shift from confusion to professional assertiveness. He realizes the danger. He acts to de-escalate by providing context. "I don't care who you are. Get out." The contradiction in commands begins here. Braden demands Bishop exit, but when Bishop moves to unbuckle his seatbelt, a necessary action to exit, Braden screams, "Don't reach, hands on the dash." "I have to unbuckle the seatbelt to get out. Which do you want me to do?" Bishop pauses, his hands hovering in the air. The camera captures the tremor in his fingers. This is not guilt. This is a physiological response to a massive adrenaline dump. "Do it slowly. Use your left hand," Braden's voice cracks. He is hyperventilating. The audio reveals a respiratory rate nearing 30 breaths per minute. His peripheral vision is likely narrowing, a phenomenon known as tunnel vision. He is no longer processing the scrubs or the ID badge. He is only processing movement. At 03:20:15, Bishop exits the vehicle. He stands 6 feet 2 inches tall. He keeps his hands high. "Turn around, facing away from me." "I am complying. My name is Dr. Julian Bishop. You are making a mistake." "Shut up. Get on your knees." Braden closes the distance. The tactical doctrine suggests maintaining a gap until backup arrives, especially if the suspect is believed to be armed. By closing distance alone, Braden violates safety protocol, suggesting his aggression is driven by a desire to dominate rather than a fear for safety. He kicks Bishop's legs apart. Bishop stumbles but catches himself. "I have bad knees, officer. I can't drop that fast." "I said get down!" Braden holsters his weapon and transitions to physical force, tackling Bishop. The camera shudders violently. The audio becomes a mix of scraping fabric and grunts of exertion. "You are breaking my wrist. I am a surgeon. Stop." "Stop resisting. Give me your other hand." The concept of resisting here is forensically inconsistent. The video shows Bishop's arm trapped under his own body due to the angle of the tackle. He physically cannot produce the arm to be handcuffed. Braden interprets this mechanical impossibility as active resistance. At 03:21 Dirk, Braden finally wrenches Bishop's arm back and secures the cuffs. Bishop is face down on the oil-stained concrete. "You're under arrest for failure to comply and resisting an officer. Check my pocket, right now. Check my ID." Bishop's voice is muffled by the ground, but the anger is now palpable. "I'll check what I want to check when we get to the station." "No, you check it now. Because 5 hours ago, I was inside a patient named Emily Vance." The audio captures a sudden silence from the environment. The background hum of the city seems to fade. "Who?" Braden pauses. He is breathing hard, standing over the prone doctor. "Emily Vance, 7 years old, shattered femur, arterial bleed. I fixed it. Do you know who her father is?" This moment presents a profound ethical dilemma. Dr. Bishop is leveraging his connection to a powerful figure to de-escalate a situation that arguably never would have happened to a white physician. Should a citizen's social connections or professional status influence how they are treated during a police encounter? Or does this highlight a broken system where only the powerful are safe? Tell me what you think in the comments. The name Vance clearly registers with Officer Braden. Chief of Police Robert Vance is a figure known throughout the department for his strict adherence to chain of command and his protectiveness over his family. The mention of the chief's daughter introduces a variable Braden had not calculated: accountability. Get up. Braden's tone loses its frantic edge, replaced by a sullen, wary aggression. He grabs the chain of the handcuffs and hoists Bishop to his feet. You're telling me you're a doctor? Look at my chest. Look at the badge you just stepped on. Braden shines his light down. The plastic rectangle is cracked, but the photo is visible. Julian Bishop, MD, head of trauma surgery. We have a lot of people impersonating staff around here. I have to be sure. You pointed a loaded weapon at my head while I was sleeping. You didn't verify anything. Bishop leans against his car. The adrenaline is fading, replaced by the throbbing pain in his wrist. He flexes his fingers tentatively. My wrist is swollen. If I have nerve damage, officer, you won't just be fired. You will be paying for every surgery I can't perform for the rest of my life. At 03:23:10, sirens approach. Backup is arriving, but the dynamic has shifted. Braden is no longer the predator. He steps back, turning off his flashlight, his body language shrinking. He adjusts his belt, checks his body camera, perhaps wishing he could delete the last 10 minutes. 2 cruisers pull up the ramp. Sergeant Miller exits the lead vehicle. He sees Bishop in handcuffs, leaning against a $100,000 car, wearing scrubs. He sees Braden standing 5 feet away, looking at the ground. Braden, what's the situation? Miller asks, his hand resting casually near his holster, but not drawing. Suspect was unresponsive in the vehicle. Refused to exit. Resisted detention. Braden recites the standard script, but his voice lacks conviction. I am Dr. Bishop. Sergeant, tell me, how is Emily doing? Sergeant Miller freezes. He looks at Bishop, then at the hospital ID, then at Braden. You cuffed the guy who saved the chief's kid? He resisted, Sarge. He wouldn't show his hands. Uncuff him. Now. Miller walks over, ignoring Braden, and begins to inspect Bishop's wrists. Dr. Bishop, I was at the precinct when the chief got the call about the surgery. I apologize. We need to get those cuffs off. As Braden fumbles with the key, his hands are shaking worse than Bishop's were. The click of the handcuffs releasing sounds like a gavel strike. I want a supervisor here, Bishop says, rubbing his wrist. And I want the body cam footage preserved immediately. It's already rolling, Doctor. It's all recorded. The turning point is not a loud explosion, but a quiet, crushing realization. Braden stands by the fender of his cruiser, isolated. The other officers arriving on the scene give him a wide berth. In police culture, a bad stop is embarrassing. A bad stop involving a political VIP is career suicide. Braden knows he has crossed a line that the thin blue line will not protect him from. He watches as Sergeant Miller offers Bishop a bottle of water and calls for a medical evaluation of the doctor's hand. The legal aftermath was not instantaneous. Justice in these matters is rarely swift. It is a grinding bureaucratic process involving unions, internal reviews, and civil litigation. Dr. Bishop filed a formal complaint the following morning. The initial internal investigation attempted to exonerate Braden, citing qualified immunity and the officer's subjective fear for his safety, given the time of night. However, the body cam footage, specifically the timestamps showing Braden escalating to lethal force within seconds of waking a sleeping man, proved indefensible in the face of public scrutiny. When the footage was released to the media, the contradiction between Braden's report, subject lunged, and the video, Bishop sitting still, was undeniable. Chief Vance recused himself from the investigation to avoid conflicts of interest, but the pressure from the district attorney's office was immense. The fact that the victim was a prominent black professional dismantled the usual defense tactics used to smear victims as thugs or criminals. 6 months after the incident, Officer Kyle Braden was terminated from the force. He was charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and official oppression. In a plea deal to avoid a 10-year sentence, Braden pleaded guilty to simple assault and was sentenced to 2 years of probation and permanent decertification, meaning he can never work in law enforcement again. Dr. Bishop sued the city and the police department for civil rights violations, false arrest, and excessive force resulting in injury. His claim focused heavily on the potential loss of future earnings due to the soft tissue damage in his wrist, which required 3 months of physical therapy to fully rehabilitate. The city settled for $6 million to avoid a jury trial. The settlement was paid by the taxpayers, not the officer. Do you believe police officers should be required to carry personal liability insurance so that misconduct payouts come from their own pockets rather than public funds? Let me know in the comments. Today, Dr. Julian Bishop continues to practice medicine at St. Jude's. He used a portion of the settlement to establish a legal defense fund for low-income hospital staff who face police harassment during their commutes. He drives a different car now, and he no longer sleeps in the parking garage. Kyle Braden was last reported working in logistics for a warehousing company. His financial situation deteriorated rapidly following his termination and the legal fees associated with his criminal defense. The camera captures truth, but it does not always capture intent. Officer Braden likely believed in his own mind that he was doing police work, but that belief was built on a foundation of bias that viewed a black man in a luxury car as an inherent threat. Dr. Bishop believed that his status, his uniform, and his compliance would protect him. Both men were wrong. Braden was not doing police work, he was hunting, and Bishop's status offered him no shield until his identity was fully confirmed by a third party. In the end, the badge that saved Dr. Bishop wasn't the one on his chest. It was the invisible badge of connection to a man more powerful than the officer holding the gun. Without that connection, and without the unblinking eye of the body camera, the narrative might have been very different. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.